Hello and welcome back to the College Football Fanatics podcast. Let me restart that. Hello and welcome back to the College Football Fanatics podcast. I am your host, Daniel, and today we will be talking about a couple of different things. We're going to be talking about Colorado and Coach Prime. I have talked about them a lot, but I'm going to be talking about them once again. He is in the news once again, but for a completely different reason than he was in the news last time. And then I will be talking about Buchner, I think is how you pronounce his name. Tyler Buchner. It's Buchner. He was Notre Dame's football or quarterback last season. So I'm going to be talking about that again, about him and his entrance into the portal and what that means for teams around the league. And then I will be talking a lot about the draft order and what I agree with, what I don't agree with. And I'm going to be talking about a couple of guys at CBS Sports. They have their draft prospects, their mock drafts on the internet, and I'll be responding to that. And I'm really excited for this episode. I enjoy making these for you guys. And it has been a long time since I've been able to make them. So I thank you guys for sticking with me, and I completely apologize. So I will see you. I will go now to Coach Prime. So Coach Prime is once again in the news, but it is for a different reason. There has been a transfer portal exodus for the spring transfer portal, which opened up a few days ago. And it's not like this wasn't expected. This was completely expected. He told players, if you don't want to be part of part of the culture that I'm trying to build, leave. And that is exactly what has been happening recently. It is completely what the players are doing is they don't want to be part of his culture, so he is leaving, or they're seeing that a freshman is coming in and he's much better, so they're leaving to go play for a different team. And I actually agree with this. I don't think that this is a bad thing for Coach Prime. You know, he is trying to rebuild the aura or the air around college football at Colorado. And he has been doing a great job so far. I mean, there are pictures from before Coach Prime and after Coach Prime at the spring game, or at the last year's spring game and this year's spring game, and the stands are completely filled at this spring game. And even during the season, there were pictures going around. It's like the stands are barely filled, or like there's like maybe 200 people watching the game, and you just see empty rows all over the place, and it just did not look good. And then after Coach Prime at the spring game particularly, oh my God. I mean, it is ridiculous that the spring games are filled. I mean, even Michigan's spring game doesn't fill completely. I mean, it usually is barely filled. I mean, I watched Michigan's spring game on the TV here, and it was barely filled at all. So, it is, sometimes ridiculous what effect a coach can have on a team. So moving on from that, I think that's enough of Coach Prime. I also, talking about coaches, Urban Meyer has released a statement a few weeks ago saying that he's not going to be returning to college football. Now, he was a great coach, the past the years where he was in college football, but I truly don't know if he could return to college football after the mistakes and the absolute disaster that he had um, in professional football. I truly don't know if he could return, but he's not going to, and that's what he said in his press release. So as much as I think Ohio State fans might wish he would return after 2 years of losses to Michigan, he's not going to be. So suck it up. Suck it up. Ohio State fans, and thank you, Urban Meyer, for not returning to the sport. Next thing is Buchner or Buchner or Butchner. Don't know. Tyler Butchner. He's a decent football quarterback. I mean, he played pretty well for Notre Dame. I don't know why he's transferring. It's probably that they have a freshman that's incoming and he looks to be better, so he might be transferring for playing time somewhere else. And so the teams that I'm thinking about that have quarterback questions, are not. They're not teams that I think are going to be like Alabama, or actually Alabama has a question at quarterback, so they might target him, but I think it's unlikely. They have quarterbacks that can fill Bryce Young's shoes, so to speak. But I don't think he's going to be looking at Ohio State anytime recently, because they have 2 quarterbacks. Kyle McCord is one, and I for the life of me cannot remember the second quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be looking there, because he'd then be in a 3-way battle. It's not necessarily what he wants. So I'm thinking he'll probably go down a tier level of school. Maybe look at somebody like maybe Utah. So it's gonna be a question there. That's probably gonna be answered in the next few days. I'm not sure if Utah's quarterback is leaving or not, but I can't remember. But it's probably that's probably like the tier, the teams that consistently get recently 10-2 wins. That tier of team. He might look at Nebraska. That could be a plausible target for him. They definitely need help on the offensive side of the ball. I think they'll win more than 3 games this year, but I thought they were going to win more than 3 games at the beginning of this season. So, I don't know. They got worse as the year went on, not better. So I don't know. I'm pretty good at sussing out, what teams are going to do well, what teams look like they're going to fall apart mid-season, but he did not look good. I should not say he did not look good. Nebraska did not look good, and they fired Scott Frost, like a few weeks before his contract was up, and they could have saved themselves $1 million. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. And I did talk about it back then. So next up, we're going to be talking about mock drafts. So these mock drafts are Ryan Wilson and Chris Trapazzo from CBS NFL. So I'm going to be breaking down Ryan Wilson's, and then doing Chris Trapazzo. So I'll be looking at that. All right. So Bryce Young. I don't agree with Bryce Young going number 1. But with CJ Stroud's, there was a C2, I think is the name of the test. I could be completely wrong with the name of the test, but I think it's C2. The test that tests the psychological the psych of the quarterbacks and players. CJ Stroud bombed that test quite recently, so he did so badly, and they have like I think it's like an 83 is the lowest that somebody has gotten and actually had a good career in the NFL. And CJ Stroud just completely bombed it. I think the number was an 18 or something like that. But I when I look at him on the field, I don't see how he and Bryce Young have that much of a difference in their playing. In decision making, I just don't see it. So it's going to be really interesting how teams go about taking the information from that test and what they decide to do. But I just don't see it, and I don't, these tests and these draft workout days and these draft combines, they should be taken as a part of the whole. They should not be taken as this one thing is a make or break or this thing is a make or break. They shouldn't. And they football teams, NFL teams can't take it as that. They can't afford to, I should say. Because if they do, then they risk having players that bombed their combine or bombed their pro day or bombed this test and they ended up doing really well. But it's, they can't take it as an all or nothing type of thing. So let's look at that. So next up is CJ Stroud. I've given my opinions on Bryce Young. I think he is too small. He is going to be hurt. He is another Tua who is going to spend at least half their time trying to recover from injuries. It's just, putting him at the Panthers, where the Panthers are a little bit of a dumpster fire at the moment, giving, a ton away for the number one pick is, I have issues with the Panthers. So, CJ Stroud, again, I've spoken on CJ Stroud, so I'm actually going to step to number 3, Tyree Wilson at Texas Tech. I think this is quite likely, except, I might switch Tyree Wilson with Will Anderson. I still haven't, I'm not 100% decided on that, but it is possible. I think Will Anderson is more likely to go at 3 than Tyree Wilson is. It's just name. He played at Alabama, and Tyree Wilson played at Texas Tech. So I think Will Anderson is likely to go before Tyree Wilson. Anthony Richardson, way too high to go at number 4. He is 100% way too high to go at number 4. He should not be there. He should not be in the first round, in my opinion. His decision making, I have questions about. He has all the physical tools, but that is the only thing that is bringing him up this high. And we have seen players with all the physical tools and all the talent in the world fail at the NFL level. And that's because their decision making is not as good. And especially at the quarterback position, you need great decision making. I have not seen enough from Anthony Richardson at Florida to say that he has good decision making. Florida was not good this year. They were not in the realm of possibility for an SEC championship or even a national championship. They are nowhere near the top of their conference. He should not be this high. Okay. He made a lot of bad decisions during games. And I don't think he developed enough in the college level to be taken at this, point. I think, in my opinion, he should have returned, taken at least another year, maybe another 2 years to develop more as a quarterback, because he was a 1-year starter. He was not a starter in his freshman year, and he was a sophomore, so he should have taken at least another year. So he could have gotten a decent deal for NIL, but he should have returned as a quarterback prospect. Will Anderson, I already talked about him. I think he should be at number 3, and Tyree Wilson at number 5. It's not undisputed that Tyree Wilson is the next best edge rusher. I have no disputes about that. But I do think Will Anderson should be slightly higher. So Jalen Carter, I think he's a blue chip prospect. I don't think you can miss on him. There are questions about his legal status that I think is what's driving down his number a little bit. Devin Witherspoon at Illinois, phenomenal quarterback. He shut down Michigan's pass game so much when I was watching that game, and he did that to just about every team that I could find and watch tape on. He was one of those players where if he was guarding somebody, you most likely did not throw in their direction, because you just didn't want to deal with his defending. Christian Gonzalez. I didn't watch. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't watch a lot of Christian Gonzalez tape. And I'll end up watching it before Thursday. I'll end up watching all of these guys. But Christian Gonzalez, I've heard good things about. But I think there is some questions about whether or not, there are some people who think he should be taken higher, people who think he should be taken lower. So I'm not going to give a huge opinion on it. I think this is probably a decent pick for the Falcons. So, excuse me. All right, number 9 is Chicago's pick at, and this one, he says they're going to be taking Broderick Jones. I tend to disagree. I think that Chicago will likely take Paris Johnson Jr., the Ohio State offensive tackle. I think there is a big difference, and offensive line is a bit of a weird position, because there is a huge difference between the strength in the position at 23, and the strength in the position at 25. There's a huge difference. And so it's hard to have a prospect at 22, 23, 24 years old come out of college and immediately be that fill-in prospect that can, stop the edge rushers or just stop the defensive linemen, whatever. It's really hard to have that. And I do believe Paris Johnson is a player who can go in there and have moderate success at stopping defensive linemen and defensive tackles. And the D tackle, or the offensive tackle position, is a position of extreme need in Chicago. They need people to protect. They need people to protect Justin Fields, especially since now they have receivers around. They have a receiver that can catch the ball very well in CJ Moore. So I'm really going to be excited to see how they build the offensive line around him. They did make a lot of moves in the free agency, so they did get more offensive linemen. They got rid of guys. They traded guys. So I'm really excited. So Next up is number 10, Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson at Texas. It's rare to see a running back go this high, and I almost say that it's unlikely that a running back is going to go this high because it's so rare to see a running back, and I just I don't know. I like the pick, but I think it might be a little bit of wishful thinking for people. So Peter Skoronsky at number 11, the Northwestern offensive tackle, going from to the Texas or to the Titans, not to the Texas. To the Titans. This is the Titans need an offensive lineman. They're going to get an offensive lineman, whether it's Peter Skoronsky or Broderick Jones or Paris Johnson. Those are the three that I would say are the best in this class. They're going to get an offensive lineman. They need an offensive lineman. The Texans. Oh my God. Would take Jackson Smith-Njigba. I can see it. But I get actually since they're taking CJ Stroud, yes, I can 100% see them taking a quarterback at number 2 and then a wide receiver at number 12. The only question for me is would they take Zay Flowers or Jackson Smith-Njigba? And I think it depends on whether or not it's CJ Stroud going at number 2 to them or Bryce Young going. If it's Bryce Young, I think they have a greater likelihood of taking Zay Flowers than they would Jackson Smith than they would if they were taking CJ Stroud at number 2, and then they take Jackson Smith-Njigba because that chemistry is already there from the offense at Ohio State. Number 13, Paris Johnson Jr. I already talked about this. I'm not going to rehash it. You guys are already going to be, annoyed if I did rehash everything I said. So I think he's going to be taken higher. That's it. Sorry. One more thing about the 12th pick from the Titans. They might trade it. There is a likelihood that they trade it to get back a little bit of what they lost for. They shouldn't say a little bit of what they lost. They didn't lose anything for the trade with the Browns for Deshaun Watson. They actually gained a lot. So, but I'm losing my mind a little bit here. So they might trade, either this pick or I don't think they're going to trade the second pick because they do need a quarterback. They might trade this pick though. Next up is 14th pick, the Patriots. Darnell Wright. I can see he was Tennessee. He's an offensive tackle. I can see it. I can see them taking an offensive tackle. I'm not a huge expert in the NFL, so I don't know all of their needs, but I do know that everybody can always use help on the line. So number 15, Zay Flowers, going to the Packers at number 15. I like Zay Flowers as a wide receiver. I really enjoyed watching him at Boston College. Unfortunately, I thought Boston College was going to do a lot better than they did do. So I have to admit that. But Zay Flowers was one of the few bright spots on that team. So I'm really thinking he could do a lot at the Packers, even though they did just trade Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. But they got a lot out of it. So, all All right. Deontay Banks, cornerback. I don't know a lot about him. I have to watch I have to watch the film on him, so I'm gonna reserve judgment until later. Um, I'm gonna reserve judgment on all of these guys. So top 15 picks. That's gonna be it for me today. I did just do a video on the top 15 picks. It's been about 30 minutes, so it's pretty close. It's been 25-ish minutes, so I'll end it here. I am going to be releasing or I shouldn't say I'm going to end it here. Sorry, my bad. I'm going to be doing Chris Trapasso's now. Again, they have, I think, again, he has Bryce Young going number 1. I still think they should switch that. Will Anderson going number 3, quite possible, but they have him going. He has him going to Houston, to the Texans, trading with Arizona. That might be a big ask, but it is possible. And then again, Anthony Richardson. I've already talked about that. Tyree Wilson going number 5. I talked about that in the last. I think that's quite realistic. Chris Gonzalez, again, I did not watch a lot of his tape, so I don't know much about him, but I do know that Devin Witherspoon is a phenomenal corner. So if he has him going top 10, I have to look at his tape. Paris Johnson Jr., this is quite possible. I've seen Paris Johnson Jr. jumping up the draft boards, and with Chicago at 9, there is a possibility that he's taken at 10. Bijan Robinson going number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. I have a hard time saying that that's a yes, especially so high. I think it's much more likely that he goes 10 to 20 instead of top 10. So again, I have a hard time saying that. Miles Murphy is a player that I think is very good and has a high likelihood of being a star in this league. But for Chicago, I think they'd more focus on the offensive line than anything else. Jalen Carter going at number 10 to the Eagles. Yes, like I said, he's been dropping down the draft boards because of his legal issues, and this is the possible result. At the beginning, he was projected to go like number 3, or number 2 or number 3. There were even some projections going number 1. So it is always fluctuating. That's the thing about the draft is it's always fluctuating. There is never a time during the draft area that it is not fluctuating. Players are going up, players are going down. It's always changing. Chris Gonzalez was not near the top of the boards at the beginning. Now he's number 6 for some guys, number 8 for others. It's always completely changing, partially because of free agency, partially because, they have issues outside, or, teams don't like what they see in the combine or in different, issues. So Will Levis going at number 11. I think this is a very realistic look. Will Levis going at number 11. I don't like him. I don't think he's going to be like a Tom Brady or not an Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, wrong Manning, or a Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's going to be like that, but I think he could be a solid quarterback that might bounce around the league. And if he ends up being like them, I'll eat my words, and that's on me. So Lucas Van Ness, this is a mock trade. So these guys are trading players. So it's number 12. They traded with Houston to give them the number 3 pick. Lucas Van Ness. I didn't love what I saw from him this year. I liked what I saw from him last year a lot more. Sorry. I forgot. I don't think he played as a freshman last year. But I didn't like what I saw from him as much this year. He did play a little bit. I do remember in the Michigan game, his name was being called a couple of times, but he didn't get as much pressure on the quarterback as I would have liked. And Iowa was just, but to be fair, Iowa was not as good as they were last year. So I'll give him that. Broderick Jones going at number 13 to the Jets. It's a decent, pick. I have no qualms about it. Again, Paris Johnson's all the way up at 7, so I don't really have any qualms with that one. Devin Witherspoon, I think he's going to go higher. I think he's probably going to be the first cornerback taken off the pick. So I'd say it's much more likely that Chris Gonzalez goes at number 14 instead of Devin Witherspoon. But we'll see how it plays out on Thursday. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba going to Ohio State. I still he has CJ Stroud going to Ohio. He has CJ Stroud going to the Texans. I still think it's quite likely that the Texans stay where they are at number 12 and pick Jackson Smith and Jigba because of the chemistry that they have playing together for a few years. So that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for listening to me babble about the 2023 mock NFL drafts from Ryan Wilson and Chris Trapazzo on from CBS. So I appreciate it very much, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. So if you guys would like, please subscribe to the channel, drop a comment and a like down below, and follow us on our Instagram at CF_fanatics_official on Instagram. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great day.